like the video, or else. Just on a personal aside, I want to start by saying I hate recaps. I do not need a recap for a show that's only been going for a week. Like, if it's season 2's first episode and it's been like a year and a half or longer, then yeah, recap in the first episode makes sense. The whole season in like 30 seconds to a minute recap, it's pretty good. But a minute 30-second recap of the last episode that took place a week ago, it either makes me think that you can't fill the last minute, or your audience has the memory of goldfish. Either really makes me jump for joy. I've been reading Moon Knight recently. I picked up one of the more recent comics that I've seen on those really well put together fan dubs for, link in the description. I don't know how most people feel about this specific comic series, but so far I'm enjoying it. I also picked up this one as well, haven't caught up on it yet. This one, for some reason, even though I'm enjoying the story, and it does have me guessing and wondering what's real or not, it didn't grasp me as well as the first series that I picked up. I will continue reading it, however, in my spare time, but overall, these comics, in my opinion, are pretty good, and I'm curious to see if the show plans on adapting any of it. As for the 4th episode of Moon Knight, though...
You in love? Oh, you're in love with my wife?
I appreciate your concern, mate. I really do.
You lay one finger on her.
Oh, shit!
It's pretty good. Much better than the last one, in my opinion. Didn't really have any of the cutaway implied violence, and there was actual blood from a gunshot wound. It does seem like they're stumbling less and less each episode, so let's hope they can keep a strong pace. And hopefully, they can finish this season with a bang.
At least he went out with a bang, right? For that, we can all be grateful.
Layla looking so happy when he said look at you for a split second's adorable. This whole first part of the episode just feels like shitbait for Steven and Layla, and personally, I love it. I wasn't expecting Layla to lean in for the kiss. I thought it would be Steven. I'm glad she did it though. I like that Steven told Layla why Mark is keeping her at a distance. It's better they don't keep that going as a will they won't they thing. I really do like how Mark cares for Layla and even gets jealous and defensive when another man hits on his wife. Even though it's technically still him, it's so cute and adds some really funny scenes that genuinely got a chuckle or two out of me. They pull a Derek from Mortal Kombat.
Never!
Come in, Major Briggs. This is Lieutenant Sonya Blade. What?
Seriously though, when Layla is fighting that mummy, she absolutely couldn't have grabbed onto anything during this fall. She should be just as dead as that mummy. Also, it's a bit weird how quick the mummy hit the ground, even though when she dropped that glow stick, it seemed almost bottomless. Maybe the pit is just abnormally deep on one side, I don't know. Anyway, I wrote that comic bit before starting the episode. When I got to the 37-minute mark, my eyes lit up. I was not expecting that to happen. When it cuts from the archaeologist on TV saying his name to the mental institution, I was fascinated, because it seems to be going in a far different direction than I first anticipated. It does seem to be adapting the comic series I brought up a few moments ago. Didn't really get into the story of that comic because it was just a quick update letting you guys know I am reading Moon Knight and will over time get a better grasp on the character from the comics, which will hopefully make these videos a bit better. Since I have an excuse now though, let's delve into the comic story just a bit. It starts with Mark Spector walking into an Egyptian tomb-like structure, but when he enters, it's a destroyed mental institution. Mark is confused, and Khonshu tells him he's dying, and to be reborn, he must suffer through pain.
So much pain! So much pain!
He shows him his past as Moon Knight, and then he wakes up in a mental asylum. 2 orderlies come in as he's screaming. They assault Mark and sedate him. After waking up, he's hit with some of that good old-fashioned shock therapy. And when it cuts back to Mark's face, just sitting there in a chair, this is where the similarities between the show and the comics get really similar. I'll be going into more detail when I discuss the final half of the 3rd episode, but for now, let's move on. You see, Mark hears things that give him flashbacks, as well as sees one of his old lovers in his past life, planting a seed that something isn't right, or suggesting whatever he's lived has all been hallucinations. He then meets with the psychiatrist, who tells Mark that he's been in this institution for years. He created the Moon Knight persona, and she wants to help. But there's just one flaw in Dr. Emmett's plan. Moon Knight too clever for that. Put 2 and 2 together. Dr. Emmett actually Ammit, the Egyptian god. Get fucked! I should have kind of guessed when reading this story for the first time and hearing Ammut's name that maybe it would somehow get adapted in the show, but genuinely I wasn't expecting it. Okay, now to talk about the episode and point out some similarities as well as some differences. First difference I like that they switched Dr. Emmett with Dr. Arthur. It makes much more sense narrative-wise for it to be Harrow than Ammit. Also, Ethan Hawke did an amazing job at completely switching his character, look and all. Really feels like a different person while still having that same condescending attitude. Also, Marlene switched with Layla. Layla way hotter than Marlene too, no complaints here. As for differences, I didn't like, I'm not a big fan of how they changed the orderlies. They are far nicer here and aren't physically violent. There's a lack of shock therapy. It seems they didn't want to make the staff abusive, I think is one of the better parts of the book, so I'm not sure why they changed that. Because when Moon Knight said they don't make hospitals like this anymore, how mental institutions like this are practically fossils, I hadn't actually thought about that. Until he pointed it out, that's when it all clicked. It seems they wanted to sanitize it a little bit, and I'm not very happy with that. It looks too clean. There was dirt and grime on the walls and floors. It had a very dirty look in the comics, very gross. Whereas in the show, it looks pristine. I can see that being a stylistic choice, of course, making it feel unnaturally clean, as if it was set up moments before Mark awakens. I just think it looks a bit off at times. And onto some funny observations before I end off. Mark and Steven running looks a little funny here, especially the face on Steven. Don't know what direction he was given, but it looks goofy. The scream at the end reminds me of Smosh for some reason. And when Mark punched Steven at the very beginning, it did genuinely get a good chuckle out of me. Other than that, that's it. Bye-bye. And when Mark get punched, Steven laugh. And when Mark got punched, and there wasn't actual blood from a gun. Some of that good old-fashioned shock therapy. And when it cuts between, he then meets with his psychiatrist. He tells Mark that he has been. She tells Mark that